Welcome to the Unnamed Locals podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Dyer. No more song. Um, that is in work, as is our new name. So if you have suggestions for what our new podcast, same as the old podcast, should be called, drop that in the chat. Send us a note on Discord, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, anything but Facebook, and it will be seen by somebody. We have a couple things to talk about tonight. We have a couple people coming on the show to talk about it. Uh, Starting off with producer John Cross. John, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, okay, but without the song, like I don't know. Like I mean, I know, but I don't. My brain doesn't click over like, oh yeah. So there was that pause when we went live where I was like, oh yeah, there's no song. So we got to get all of this worked out at some point. Um, I did see. I don't know what's going on because I haven't looked at Discord in a little bit, but I saw a note in the rundown. I'm just moving it straight to the top of the show. A note in the rundown to be nice to each other on Discord. So um, I just wanted to check in with you and see if there's something in Discord that I missed that I need to be going back and looking at because I missed it.
Yeah, we can jump into it. I want to touch base with you said about the name. Just to let everybody know, it's probably going to be a few weeks till we sort everything out. We have some name ideas, and also talked with some people over the weekend about maybe either redoing the words to the song we had before, so the person who helped make the original song, or maybe come up with something original. So we do have some things in the works. I just wanted to get that out before I forgot. As far as the Discord, we had, and it's not general Discord. I would say it's specifically what we have labeled in Discord as the um, MLS SDFC channel, and we're in the process. There's gonna again, it's gonna take a few weeks of transition here, right? We're getting ready for elections, but there's going to be some reformatting of our Discord channels as well to help segment some of the conversations. But we had, well, I guess we'll go back. Feelings are still raw right now, right? There's still some people that have strong emotions one way or another about the pivot, about MLS. And one, first, everybody should be able to share their opinions. I think it's great that people are sharing different opinions. We need to have these conversations to figure out where
I'm
we're
going to stop
going.
you right there. I think
But
people
wait,
have
hold
too
on, hold
many
on, hold on,
opinions
hold on,
uh,
hold on,
in
hold
general. There's
on,
just too many opinion
hold
having
on,
going on. We should let's
hold
get
on.
some let's settle on some
No.
facts. Too much opinion.
Okay. I want to finish what I was saying because the problem we're having is individual members personally attacking other members, and that needs to stop. We can share different opinions. We can talk about things, but we had some people getting personal on there because other people didn't agree with them. And that's we shouldn't be attacking each other personally. Right. And
Yeah,
that's I wanted to make sure I got that. That
a,
that was the bigger thing.
a good
It's
way
okay to
to
have
prevent that
different
is,
opinions.
yeah, or you could just agree, because if you just agreed with them, there'd be no attacks. This is like the argument for Donald Trump in 2024, right? Like, well, if you just would have elected me, we wouldn't have tried to overturn the election. Like, this is your fault. This is your fault for, not voting for the big D, Donald. So if we just did a little less opinion having and a little more of just giving the loudest voices what they want, we'd be in a much better place.
Well, I don't know. We gave some of the loudest voices what they wanted, we'd be dissolved right now. So, um, I think it's good that we're having the conversations. I think, two things. One, uh, everybody just understand people are in different places. People are in the grieving process in different places. And some people may decide, which we've had some people do, that the the locals aren't for them anymore. And I think that was part of it. We lost some members in Discord, not necessarily as locals, but we lost some members in Discord, and part of it was the discussion and what was happening. And in the future, I think you will see a segmenting of some of these channels, especially separating MLS talk from STFC. So there can be productive conversations about where we're going and what we're trying to do with STFC, and separate that from issues and gripes that some people have about Major League Soccer as a
Oh,
league and an
you know what?
entity.
I've really turned the page on this because, like, USL is like the little league that could, like, they're like this underdog league. And so we didn't really get a good chance to like really bitch about USL, like maybe as much as would be fun for a lot of people, because listen, it's more fun when things are bad. I mean, when things are good, yeah, it's good, but like when things are bad, you can really get into stuff. So, with the USL, we never really got to explore that side of fandom. And now, being in arguably one of the worst professional first division professional soccer leagues in the world, we're going to have so many new opportunities to complain, to point out, hypocrisy in leadership, to point out the toxic nature of this business model. It just opens like a whole new door of fandom for so many of us. So I really think it's a positive thing to have a bad league now. It's going to really let us explore, parts of fandom that maybe we haven't been able to explore previously with USL, because nobody wants to step on the feisty underdog, and now we've got the big bad to go at, so it's going to be great.
Okay. And then we'll create a special channel for those people who want to have those conversations, to segment them, as we said, away from others. So
This is
also
my
people
new
have the choice of
positivity.
muting that.
This is my new positivity.
Really?
I'm trying to be. Listen, there's a positive way to look at literally anything, no matter how bad it is. So that's my new angle here. All in on STFC, all in on hating MLS, and these two things, like, this is like one of the interesting things about MLS fandom, right? Is like you have these passionate fans, like Portland Timbers and LAFC. You have really passionate fans, and they all hate this league. It's great. It's really great because they love their teams and they hate the league. So it's this interesting, dynamic where you have to hold these two things like separately in your head in order to maintain your sanity. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I do think that is an important distinction to make, is that both those things can be true. You can love your club and you can hate the league. And that does not mean that one takes place of the other, or just because you love your club, you love the league. Right? Those two things can happen simultaneously. And I think part of the reason we are having some of the discussions we're having in Discord is we have lumped all of this conversation into one channel. So you get people then, really talking apples and oranges and getting upset at each other. So again, in the future, we're going to be rearranging the channels there in Discord so that hopefully we can have more productive conversations, and segment that. And just because you may be critical of the league, or even critical of the front office, which we will be at times, I'm sure, unified as an SG, where we're going to be critical of the front office. But it doesn't mean, just like we were with the locals, there were times where we're unified and critical of things like flipping the crest upside down, on that first season. But you can separate those two things. You can still cheer and root for the team that's on the field and still have different conversations in regard to the front office. So just things for people to keep in mind as we're having all of these discussions, as we're trying to find our way forward.
So we do have a person who is chomping at the bit to weigh in on this very hot topic. I think Dylan is waiting in the wings. If you can bring him on.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. I was sending only slightly threatening and aggressive messages in the private chat. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts. I think anybody who's sat down and talked with me about this, and I'm just diving right in here. Hi, everybody. This is Dylan. You all know who I am. I think anybody who's sat down and talked with me about this knows that I have like a lot of strong feelings, but I think that I try, and one of the things I do with sport, whether it's like refereeing decisions or like talking about this kind of stuff, I try and like cut through the emotion and like look at the facts, right? And so while I do have many gripes with MLS, I think to your point, Andrew, we never really got to the chance where we got to put USL under that microscope, but I think the USL makes a lot of the same mistakes that the MLS does. It's just on a smaller scale, and they do, to their credit, allow clubs more independence. But anyway, that's kind of neither here nor there anymore. But the point what I wanted to say, kind of chomping at the bit, was that while I have many frustrations with MLS, I would argue that MLS at its core is a symptom of a larger problem, which is the United States Soccer Federation just wholly neglecting its responsibility since its formation in, I think, 1912 or something like that. I mean, it's been around over 100 years as a nonprofit. And I would argue it's never really done the one thing it's supposed to do as far as domestic soccer is concerned, which is institute some sort of pyramid. So while I don't think that arguments against MLS are unfounded, I would encourage people that if they want to have a real world impact, to direct their anger at the United States Soccer Federation. Not to say that us being angry on Twitter or Discord or whatever is going to change anything. But I think it's important to know what is a symptom and what is the root cause, right? Because it's all well and good to be annoyed about the cough, but if it's the flu that's the problem, like dealing with the cough is just dealing with the symptom.
There's so much fertile ground to till for all of my haters out there.
Exactly.
My fellow haters.
There's hate to go around here.
It's going to be fun. I'm really, having a lot of positive feelings about it. And that's one of the reasons, because being critical and pointing out inefficiencies and incongruities is gosh, it's one of the best parts about being a sports fan. As long until like the rare moment that your team wins a championship, then that's the best moment. But second to that, it's complaining constantly. That's you listen to sports talk radio, and nobody loves to complain more than fans of teams or leagues that aren't doing the right thing. So it's gonna be great.
Complaining is where it's at. It's all well and good to celebrate, but let's be honest, we all get back to the complaining pretty quickly.
Well, because one thing happens a lot more than the other thing,
Exactly.
Usually you're not winning championships.
Look at Eagles fans. They finally got that Super Bowl they wanted, and they're angrier than anybody else. So I know that was a while ago, but still.
All right. Well, John, I know you have a list of news items you want to hit. So if we want to go ahead and pivot over to what we've got to talk about tonight, I know the show is we're still on this weekly schedule at the moment. There's a lot of things going on with the supporters group that we're going to talk about. I'm not sure what's first up on deck, but we got elections, we've got SDFC stuff to get to, and then some stuff with some other teams around town. So I'll just toss it over to you. Where are we at right now?
Okay, yeah, let me run through maybe about 3 to 4 minutes here of some quick news items, and then we'll take it from there for some bigger discussions. So we do have the 2024 member interest form is out. That went out last Friday. If you haven't had a chance to fill it out, please do. Even if you're not intending to run for a position on Leadership Council or the new Executive Council, it is a way for us to, one, clean up our membership rosters a little bit, two, give us an idea of what our core supporter numbers are going to be for 2024 so we can start doing some planning. So that is one of the things that we're doing with this interest survey. And three, of course, since we have elections coming up, it's for people who are interested in maybe putting their name in to be a representative on the new Leadership Council or to be one of the 4 members of the Executive Council. So if you haven't had a chance, please fill out the member interest form. You had a link in your email that went out, I believe, last Friday. And then there is a post in the announcements channel in Discord as well if you need the links to get in there for that member interest form. Locals Rocket League team will be starting up next week. We have been promoted to Division 1 after winning Division 2 last year. So check Discord and socials for the time and date of the first match. We don't have games to go to right now as the locals, but we do have our supporter gaming league team playing, so maybe we can organize some online watch parties for those. In terms of local teams, Albion, we still don't know where Albion is going to be playing in 2024. Rumor is they are out of NISA, but that decision has not been publicly announced one way or the other. So we don't know what's happening with them. Sockers, after splitting their matches this last weekend, they have a midweek game on Wednesday against Empire Strikers, and then they'll return for a home match next weekend, not this coming weekend, but next weekend. That will also be their alumni game at halftime. And then for Wave Sirens news, Sirens memberships have opened and Wave season tickets are available for any of our members who do both. So if you haven't signed up for your membership with Sirens or got your season tickets yet, the time is now to get in there and get that done. Finally, in SDFC news, and then we'll kind of spill over from this for our bigger conversations. If you had signed up to go to the match, which since we're recording this always on Tuesdays, the match is on Wednesday. So if you RSVP'd for that match, you should have received an email tonight from Jerry Jimenez over at SDFC. They've given you all the details and what you need to do to head down there. I know that Nick Duffy will be there from the locals and Steve Rokoff is going to try to make it. But just as a reminder, because I've seen some chatter on Discord, that this was supposed to be a closed-door RSVP event for members, so you were supposed to fill out the form if you wanted to go. If you didn't fill out the form, please don't crash the event. But if you are going, just as a reminder, make sure this is like we've had other closed-door opportunities to get in and see a team play. Make sure, like, no video, no pictures, or anything else, so we get the opportunity to do some of these events again in the future. And then to close out with SDFC news, the Chrome Ball kickoff event was last Saturday at Novo Brazil and 18 Threads. I was out there. We'll talk about that in a moment here. And the first stop on the Chrome Ball tour will be up in Oceanside on January 27th for anybody who's up in North County Coastal and would like to check that out. I'm guessing we will probably have representation at every one of these that we can, because it will be a recruitment effort on our part. It will, I find it unlikely that we're going to organize a big thing and get everybody out to as many events as possible, but we're probably going to have representation at pretty much every one of these moving forward, every one that we can. All right, those are my quick news items. What do you want to talk about first?
I want to know about this event because I saw some pictures on social media. Are these, and just give me your impression, are these events drawing in new people? Because I kind of see the same folks in the pictures at all these events. Are there new fans coming through and getting excited about this club?
Really hard to know. For me, I mean, who's a new fan and who's someone maybe I just don't know, probably from another group. I will say this, I have been critical as SDFC and some of their missteps along the way here. But I went to the event they had in Linda Vista, and I went to this event, and these are, I have to say, these are things that they are doing to help get in touch with the community. And for me, it was kind of like being at Coronado Brewing pregame kind of thing. I saw a lot of people I knew, got to hang out. It was after what has happened with the SD Loyal and not really having a team, it was really nice to be in an environment with a whole bunch of people I knew that enjoy soccer and just hang out. I mean, I missed that. I really did not realize how much I've missed that. And I would encourage anybody who hasn't been to one of these, or when it comes around into your area, just get out and check it out, because it was this community aspect of what we built as the locals is what I have missed the most. And we don't have a team that's playing at the moment, not till 2025 that we will have that common thread that we rally around for these kind of events. But this brought back a lot of memories. It was fun. I had a good time. And I technically was there with my soccer shorts hat on, not as a representative of the locals for the documentary I'm putting together. But it was a lot of fun. I really
Did you
enjoyed it. It was good.
pick up
Good to
any
see people
Chrome and
talk with
Azul
them.
gear?
I have not. No. I think we'll dive into the colors here in a little bit. In a second, kind of continue our conversation from last week. But I have not yet picked up any Chrome and Azul gear.
I also have not picked up any Chrome and Azul gear. I don't know. To me, I still am not really over the association it gives me to the like 2018 Padres uniforms that I really did not like, and I did not enjoy that team. So for me, I'm still kind of reconciling that. But I did go to the Street Flow event, though I have not been to any of these Golden Ball events or Silver Ball or Chrome Ball or whatever we're calling it. Third time's the
Disco
charm.
Ball.
Chrome Ball.
We know,
Disco Ball.
you know it's Chrome. We all know it's Chrome.
It's Chrome. You're
at
right.
this
That's the
point,
primary color.
because
and
it
it is-
reflects all the colors.
It is the color of the future, as predicted by Squidward Tentacles in 1999, 2000, something like that. Anyway, the Street Flow event was fun. I have to admit, it was cool seeing all the people out there. There was a lot of faces I recognized, but even more that I didn't. So that was fun. I look forward to getting out to some of these events. I'll have to like look at my schedule now that they've dropped when they'll be where, but yeah, I appreciate the effort they're making. I've seen a lot of people making the point that they're getting around the county, and that's good. So I can really only commend that effort. I think they're taking some good steps, and we all know that there's some good people behind those steps, probably. So yeah, I appreciate what they're doing here. I will say though, if you are at one of these events, make sure to stay out of the focus of the reflection of the Chrome Ball. It gets very hot, and I am half joking, but I'm also half not joking. I saw it burn some stuff. So you've been warned.
I mean, to me, that's an enticement because you can really get up to some stuff.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Oh, I just happened to bring my newspaper. I hope it doesn't.
These army men are never going to know what hit them.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about how this new club connects with the future of the locals. I know, John, you had mentioned some color discussions. We had a long conversation on the podcast last week that kind of even continued a little bit offline between you, me, and Steve. And I think one of the things that I really started hitting on was like the locals needs to present as an SG for STFC. The green and orange color scheme in the logos and all of our social media and all of our art. It just doesn't, like, I know we want to keep our colors and respect that like history and everything, but like it doesn't reflect where we're going, right? Like you can't like respect the past if you never leave the past. You have to leave it in order to honor it later, right? Have you seen any do we have any mock-ups of alt-colored locals logos or anything yet? Have you seen anything?
I did see one thing very early on when the SDFC crest was first released, because they have that kind of multicolor outline sort of thing to the circle or whatever it is. And I saw somebody put that outline multicolor on the locals logo or something like that, and I thought that looks kind of good.
On the bum head.
The bum head, that's what it was.
Just the bum head.
The circle,
Yeah.
which honestly, it looked great. But I will say, as somebody who is a very early and strong proponent of keeping our colors as they are, I think that we shouldn't get rid of the Tory green and orange, meaning we should keep them incorporated in some way, shape, or form. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't incorporate the new colors, if that makes any sense. So, like, the orange and green can be an accent or something, or, you know, in addition to the chrome and azul. But I acknowledge the need to bring in the present or future, if you will. But I really wouldn't like to see those colors completely gone either, because I think one of the things that's going to define the ethos of this supporters group going forwards is its connection to the past, right? Like, regardless of the changes that happen to the structure or the membership or the logos or whatever, the game day experience, I think the connection that we have, like, as a group, the like communal knowledge and experience, is kind of one of the things that will set us apart. So I think it's important to kind of keep both of those aspects.
Sure, but when I look at the locals logo, I don't think about SDFC. Like, I look at this logo and I don't think about a supporter group for this club, which
Yet,
we are now, right? Like,
right.
that's
Yes.
kind of like on the simplest surface level. That's kind of where I'm at, because you know, if we're going to be, we're about to have elections, we're trying to get people excited about taking this SG in this new direction. We need people that are excited about that direction to throw their hat in the ring for the new leadership. We are going to be present at these SDFC events, trying to avail ourselves to interested potential new members. There are several options. If you want to join an SDFC supporter group, there are several options right now. And if you are looking to join an SDFC supporter group, you're probably not going to pick the group that looks like it's still supporting the team that isn't here anymore. You know, like, I just, for like looking toward the future, like, is kind of where I'm at with, you know, the colors and the logos and the whole aesthetic of the SG.
And I'm probably in a slightly different place than both of you. I have evolved to thinking I don't see why we just don't adopt all colors. I mean, we have this that we've done, right? We do these things for causes. We've made a Padres inspired shield with bum. I don't know why we can't do, you know, still have our old stuff that we use for some things and have our SDFC inspired things for
Okay,
people who
what thing would Tory green and orange, what thing would these colors be relevant to right now, other than like remember the loyal night or something?
Well, I guess let me flip it back the other way, is SDFC the only thing that the locals are about? Because that was a huge part of our survey from our members, is to be more than just that. So I mean, that gets down to a fundamental question. Is that the only thing we are, is a supporter group for SDFC?
Well, before we can be anything more, we have to be
It's a
established as a
primary
supporter group for
focus,
SDFC,
but
right?
Is it the
And I think
only
that's
thing?
one of the things that
I-
leads to some of the mission creep and the confusion. Like, what is this group about? Or like, are we supporting this club, all clubs? Are we supporting the idea of soccer, like, in the ether? Like, it's very difficult without like a focus. With Loyal, it was very easy because there was no question. Like, we were about the club first. Like, it was in everything. It was in the DNA, right? But right now, because we're in this space, you know, a sociologist might call it anomie, right? This state of change where people are uncomfortable with the change that's happening. It makes it very difficult to go from what was to what is going to be, because what is in the middle is so unclear and confusing.
I think a
Well,
really good
and
example of where to look. Sorry, John, I don't mean to cut you off. And I do actually have up the modified bumhead logo here if you want to pull that up. I'm not sure if I'm able to do
oh,
that.
I see it.
But
Yeah.
I think a really good example to look back at, and everybody can look or watch back the video if they like, because it was an episode of Kicking It with the Locals, is our talk with, I want to say Cameron from Gorilla FC, but I'm sorry if I'm totally getting his name wrong.
Yeah.
But that was a really important, or what I'm getting at in that discussion, among the many important things that we're talking about there, was kind of their reconciling the fact that they have a solid identity of who they are. And granted, it's not necessarily who the locals are, but they have who they are. And then they are also a Sounders supporters group. And I'm not proposing that the locals kind of define ourselves politically necessarily the way that Gorilla FC has. But what I am saying is that I think we have to shift our mindset of what the locals is, because for Loyal, the locals and the Chavos and the Rainbow Loyal to an extent were like the big supporters groups, but the locals really drove a lot of what happened. I know the Chavos were big on the drum line and the cheers, and I don't mean to discredit them, but the locals were a big part of the numbers that made up the supporter section. That is not going to be the case for San Diego FC. We could gain,
well, not at this rate.
well, we could get, but that's what I mean. We could triple our membership and we still wouldn't even make up like a third of that supporter section. So what I'm saying is, like, we have to kind of turn our focus from being the supporters group of Loyal to being the locals, a supporters group who stands by the pillars that we're working on defining and have defined thus far. That is also an SDFC supporters group. So I think it's just
that doesn't fit on a sticker, though. It's got to be.
Well, and I'm not proposing you put that on a sticker, but I'm saying that, like, we have to. It's a fine distinction, but we have to find a way to move in that direction, because if we try to just recreate what we did with Loyal as an SDFC supporters group, it's not going to work.
Why?
Because we're not the big dog in the room. Like, no pun intended with what's on the screen. But we're not, because we're not the biggest supporters group already.
Who's the biggest supporters group?
Well, I don't know about in terms of sheer numbers, but I can tell you we're not the ones throwing weight around in these meetings right now.
Why?
Why? I don't know, because we haven't been, but we aren't. So I'm just saying why, John? That's a great question.
I would say that we haven't right now because we have to get our stuff in order first. I mean, we got to get through these elections, and this is the vitally important piece of people who really want to help shape what the locals are in 2024. I hope they get involved, either run for a position on leadership council or executive council, or get involved with any of the other day-to-day operations, because it is really hard right now to make those decisions when you have a bunch of people who are leaving. And it would be unfair to make some of those decisions. And the next group, the next leadership group, then inherits some decisions made in the last couple of weeks of this term, we'll call it.
The lame duck session of the Congress.
I mean, that is where we are a little bit. We are a little bit at that mercy. There are some things we can do and we can plan for, but we will be able to hit the ground running much more efficiently and start making some very significant and serious decisions once this new leadership team is in place, because now we have people who are ready to move forward. And we're not there right now, and other groups are. So, I mean, Dylan's right. There's other groups that are kind of throwing their weight around as to what the supporter section should look like. And we are starting to get into those conversations, but it's hard to have some of those conversations till we know what our leadership structure is. So I feel, I hear everything that Andrew's saying, and I feel as soon as we get a new leadership team in place, a lot of those things will start happening more quickly, right? Because they can. We're kind of in a little bit of a holding pattern until we get our leadership stuff straightened out.
And the last thing I want to say too is that, and I don't think I phrased this well earlier, but if we as the locals were to like boycott or whatever, to use an extreme example, but none of the other supporters groups had our backs on whatever it is we decided to boycott over or make a protest over, it's not going to have the same effect that it did for Loyal because we're not the only or not the biggest voice in the room. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that we have to learn to operate in that space where we're a supporters group that whatever weight we have, it's not the only weight throwing around. Anyway, sorry. I just wanted to wrap that up.
Well, yeah, and I mean the way that we were talking with Steve about this umbrella group that's going to have to exist, it's probably going to be that umbrella group doing those kinds of decisions with some kind of council of representatives from all of these groups, right? So like it's not going to be unilateral anymore, or it's not just going to be like Steve and Kevin
Right.
just agreeing on something
Right.
ahead of the game or anything like that. It's going to have to be, everybody deciding to do something, because none of us can take a stand by ourselves. We all have to do it
Exactly.
together.
It's got to be like a supporters union, and that's why these early events are so important, is like creating that working relationship between the supporters groups. I know we had some really good conversations with the Riptides already. We obviously already have the relationship with Chavos. But it's important to keep those relationships good because, like you said, Andrew, united we have a voice, but if we're all going in different directions, it's going to be hard to get anything done.
So I'm very excited to see a version of our beloved Bum Locals shield in Chrome and Azul. I haven't seen that yet. I mean, I am looking forward to seeing it and really feeling like we're moving forward and not mired in the past. So can't wait for these elections. I hope I'm not running for anything. I value my independence as a podcast host and agent provocateur in the Discord. So I I have a lot of strong opinions, but I am not going to be in any position to act upon them. So please, if you are, willing to, and if you're excited about where this thing is going, we need you on that council.
If you don't mind Microsoft Paint quality, I can get you a Chrome and Azul Bum logo by the end of the night.
So, speaking of elections, I know that it's in the email, but let's just hit it on the podcast as well, John, while we're all still here. We have a beginning date, we have an end date. What's the electoral process going to look like? Are we just are we doing ranked choice voting? Is it just you get X number of votes? I know we touched on it last week, but let's hit it again, just so that we're clear.
Right. So the first step is this member interest form that's out, right? So it serves kind of a double purpose of not only collecting information from people and helping us figure out who is interested in being part of our core membership moving forward, but it also serves for the people who are interested in running for a position on Leadership Council or the Executive Council. That form will close by the end of the day this Friday coming up on, what is that, the 19th? On this Friday. As soon as that closes and we have time to collate the information, we're going to create candidate profiles for everybody who's interested in running for a spot on the Leadership Council. They will be up on the Locals website. It's in the members only area, so people can go in there and log in and see it.
Oh man, I can't remember my password. Man.
This is another thing. So the election, the ballot, will actually be in that members only area. So I'd recommend to everyone, just like we told you to do before Loyal matches, is make sure you can log into your AXS account. Make sure you can log into the member area of the Locals website well ahead of time so that we can work out any issues that may happen so you don't miss out on voting. But as soon as those will be up for a few days, and then the ballots will open on Thursday, January 25th, and then it will close at the end of the day on Wednesday, January 31st. That'll give us a couple of days to collate the information. Winners, hopefully, should be posted by Friday. And then we have our annual general meeting on Saturday, February 3rd, which looks like right now it's likely to be an in-person event, still location and time and everything to be determined. But all that information should also be out publicly by this Friday. Right, so time, location, everything else should be published for our members so that they know when that's going to be. And that's your overview of how the elections are going to run. And members are just voting for people on the leadership council. And there are 15 positions open right now.
So let me ask you this, John, because I know, and I think Dylan, you're in Congress too, right? You've been in these
I
meetings
am,
as well?
yes, correct, yes.
So like what so say I'm a person hearing this or whatever, and I'm thinking of running, but I'm like, you know what? I'm really fucking lazy. Like, do I really want to like do things? What is going to be asked of these folks day one? Like, what's the first order of business when this new Duma is seated after the election?
Well, Andrew, I actually think, without tooting my own horn here, I'm the perfect person to answer this question because
Excellent.
I am involved and I want to be involved, but I am also a lazy piece of shit. So,
Perfect.
yeah, I am actually running, or I plan to run. I think I formally am running. I'm not sure yet, but I am not intending to be on the executive council. I'm not intending to hold office because, again, lazy piece of shit. But if you are just wanting to be on leadership council, what will be expected of you day one is to make sure you are aware of the new leadership structure and the pillars, stuff like that, mission statement, all that good stuff. But beyond that, there isn't going to be a whole lot of you asked day one. But what will be asked of you is that you regularly attend the council meetings because you kind of have to if you plan to run and be elected. And the other thing I would say is try and attend as many events as you can. But if you're running council, I'm going to assume that's something you're already looking to do because you're probably an invested individual. So yeah, obviously there's more that goes into it than that. This is kind of a broad strokes overview, and John, feel free to chime in and tell me anything I'm missing. But I guess what I'm trying to say here is, as somebody who likes to procrastinate and is pretty lazy, there's room to be involved and be involved in a decision-making capacity, but also still be lazy. So
there is a comment in the chat about needing a new mission statement. Do the locals need a new mission statement?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it mentions SD Loyal in there as part of it, if I remember correctly. But there's a revamping that needs to be done of the website as well. So there are a lot of changes that need to happen, and there are
like cosmetic changes. I think is kind of what you're talking about, right?
I mean,
or are there like functionality issues with the website? Like
no, more cosmetic changes, not functionality issues. But yes, we need to make it appropriate for where we're going to be heading in 2024 and beyond. But like we said, and we've been saying for months now, this is a huge undertaking, this big transition that we're doing. And we have tried to take a longer term approach to look at the things that need to be done now to make sure we get things in place. And one of those, as we said a little earlier, is we have to get the elections in. We have to get the new leadership team seated so those decisions can start being made moving forward. As much as I would love to have all the website, as someone who's done websites before, all up and ready exactly, like especially for anybody we're trying to recruit, it's not going to happen yet. It's going to take us a couple weeks to sit some people and sort through that. I know some other people have. I've already mocked up some ideas for changes. It's just we have a lot to do, and certain things need to happen before other things can happen.
So let me ask this. So today's the 16th. I think polling is opening next week. Is the plan, right?
Next week on Thursday. Yeah.
Okay. I wonder if there's a way, or if there's any interest in bringing candidates on the stream next week and maybe talking to some people in a limited capacity, because it's a dozen seats, right?
15.
15
up to
seats.
15, yeah.
So I mean, maybe
we can only hold 10 at most on our podcast, so we'll have to look at. I am not opposed to that,
folks through,
but we can. We did that on other podcasts we've done that before.
Maybe we can invite folks on if they want to. You don't have to come on.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people know who they are already, but like, I'd love to talk to some folks.
I say this as a prospective candidate and somebody who loves the sound of my own voice. I would love to come on and pitch my case.
Well, you've been stumping. I didn't realize that this was a campaign stop for you.
I'm probably already overdoing it
pod.
at this point when you made the sales stop selling, right?
Yeah, so it'd be great. I know we wouldn't have a lot of time to get into all kinds of. I mean, depending on how many. If it's only a couple candidates that are interested, we'll talk to y'all for the whole show. But if we get a lot of people interested in doing that, I'll put you to the screws and ask the tough questions that need to be asked of any political figure.
I'd also like to remind people that it doesn't have to be the big, identified positions like leadership council or executive council. If you haven't had a chance to look at the org chart, there's tons of areas of opportunity to help that are a bit more low pressure and maybe 10 to 30 minutes a week for helping out, not a huge time commitment, but things that would certainly help out the entire organization if we had lots of people picking up just little jobs like that along the way. So there's tons of opportunities where you're going to be able to help out moving forward.
And to offer an anecdote, sorry, Andrew, I don't
go ahead.
To offer an anecdotal experience on that topic, John, of just the little jobs. That's how I really got my start getting involved with this supporters group. And I mean, look at me now. I can't stay away. I had a free Saturday where my friends were all busy and I had nothing to do. And I went and helped out with a TIFO painting. And next thing I knew, I was putting together song sheets and getting there for setup. And now I'm here doing podcasts. And it's, I guess my point being, you can get involved to whatever degree you want. If all you want to do is show up and help with painting sometime, or, if whatever it is, whatever little thing you like to do, we are happy to help or have the help from anybody. This is all volunteer work. If there's something you want to do and that's all you want to do, that's better than nothing. We'll take it.
Excellent. All right. Well, I've got a lot to look forward to. A big week up ahead. John, is there anything that we didn't hit that we need to hit before we get out of here?
No, the only thing I had on there was maybe talk a little bit about membership benefits and dues, but
do we have info?
Well, we don't have anything concrete. It was more just to kind of explore some ideas of what people thought. So we've already gone a little bit long. We can hold off on that.
It's a Chrome and Azul scarf. That's what we need.
That's what you
Chrome and Azul membership scarf. Given the care and creativity that the first batch of local scarves received, my favorite was the Balboa Park design. It's my favorite scarf pretty much ever. I'm very excited to see an SDFC focused version of something as intentional and thoughtful as that one. I'm really excited to see what we have in store. So just throwing some ideas out there.
All right.
All right. Well, hey, thanks everybody for tuning into the stream. If you're here, and for your comments, it really helps us know what y'all want to hear us talk about. So if you have questions, if you have suggestions for what we should name the pod, we could call it the Unnamed Locals Podcast as a tribute, honoring the past to another famous soccer podcast, which I actually don't want to do. A little bit of a cop out there, but especially if it's the second time that it's done. So show name ideas, hit us up, put it in the Discord. And if you are one of the people considering running, or you are running, let us know. It's in Discord. Hit John, message me, and we'll bring you on the show next Tuesday, and we'll talk about what you want to see this year from the locals, and how you want to help us get there. So thanks, Dylan and John. So, any final thoughts before we sign off?
Yeah, I have three things in descending order of quickness. The first one for a new podcast name. I did see somebody on the Discord. I want to say it was Sean, loyal Sean on the
Yeah,
Discord
it was
post.
Sean.
Okay, it was Sean. Either locals loud and proud or loud and proud the locals, something like that. I thought that was a really good idea, especially in the context of the proud not loud thing in the FCFC release. So anyway, that's got my vote. The
How about
second
the Proud
thing,
and Loud Pod? Really simple.
yeah, something up that alley. The second thing was that here's a little treat for you all who have stuck around this far. This is not confirmed yet, but we're probably leaning towards fair play for the AGM on February 3rd. Our president, Steve Brockhoff, gave me permission to say that's where we're leaning.
Also in the
Nothing-
chat, shout out. Steve.
Yeah, Steve, thank you. Appreciate that because I'm pretty excited. Nothing's confirmed. We're still working on a time, but we've got a good connection there at Fair Play. So we're hoping they will work with us. And then the last thing I wanted to say is a plug for something I plugged a long time ago, but now I'm going to plug it because I'm actually working on it now. For Bum TV this year, I have planned a show or podcast or whatever you want to call it about kind of the history of soccer and soccer tactics. It'll be probably about 5 to 8 episodes. I haven't really nailed down the length of the series yet, but I'm finishing up my outline for episode 1, which will cover probably about the origins of the game and the Football Association in England around 1860s to about the 1920s, which is when the offside law became what it is, more or less what it is today. Yeah, keep an eye out for that, episode 1. I'm working with some people. I've reached out to a few folks who are going to help me out, hoping to get that done by the end of January. But yeah, so keep an eye out for that. It'll be Bum TV or Bum's Breakdown, kind of reincarnate, sort of, not really, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right. And the only thing I would add to that, I mean, Dylan mentioned how he did a lot of things and eventually got involved helping with podcasts. If anybody would like to help out with Bum TV or have ideas for shows, that's how Dylan got started last year, as they had an idea for a tactics show, he and Max. So hit me up if you have any ideas. We're going to be needing and wanting a lot of help. We have a ton of ideas that we'd like to do that we haven't had the opportunity to do yet until we get a few more people involved. So if you're interested in helping on that creative side, let me know and I'll share that with you.
All it takes is the will. I listened to the podcast and I was tired of listening to people talk who didn't have microphones and sounded terrible. So I was like, you know what? Why don't you just let me host every episode, John? And here we are.
That's not too far off from the conversation.
Well, all right. Well, we are going to strive to always improve and always have a great professional sounding show for y'all. So more to come. Hit us up if you want to be on the show. I'd love to have a bunch of candidates come through and just do a rapid fire. I think it'd be a lot of fun to do it. And I'm not going to put the screws to you. That's a joke. It'll be fun. All right. So until next week. Bye.
Right. Bye.